Good morning, everybody. Sorry about that. I had to use the bathroom. You know what it is. Today we got a great day for you, a great show. It is March 23rd, 2024. Today we got squats. Gonna hit it, gonna hit hard. Humid Carolina air. We're gonna do here, a change is, good morning, Crosbo, how you doing? Welcome on in, good to see you, good to see you. Let's see. One set of plates. Yep, that's right, Crosby, you did get first today. I haven't seen you in a hot minute, man. Thanks for wishing me good luck on my big move. Yeah, it's happening. We are 9 days away. That's it. Not much now. So, I'm pretty excited, as you can imagine. Until that you're leaner. Yeah, a little bit. The cut's going pretty decently. Weighed in at 225.8 this morning, which is about 6.5 pounds or about 2.5 kilos down since peak bulk, which is what we're looking for. Well, since the peak Friday weigh-in. Absolute peak bulk, I'm actually down a bit more than that, but there we go. Now it's working in both. All right, we go. We go high bar here. Really extend the knees out. There we go. Really just stretching out the quads, stretching out the glutes. All right, let's keep it moving. Yeah, to the right, the spread. Yeah, you're missing Missouri. That's all you'll ever be. Set me free, set me free. Please, please, please. All right. Yeah, we got another warm-up set here. We're going to bump up to 315. I think 315 is as heavy as we're going to go today. Do a little bit more bodybuilding hypertrophy. So we're going to be looking for sets of 10 to 12 here. That's going to be the goal. Definitely want to hit depth, so probably not the first set, but probably the second or the third set. I'm going to have you guys come over here and depth check, but I'm going to wait for more people to show up for that. Doing the obliques and back, working those legs of yours lean out. I mean, here's how I can tell. You see this line right here, right? It's faint, but you can see that there's a cut now. That's new. And that's a definite growth sign too. That means I've got more leg muscle mass than I did, you know, at this stage in my previous cut. Which makes sense, right? Because I bulked up to a heavier weight, but all my numbers in the gym, all my PRs went up. If that's the case, I have to have built more muscle. All right, so this is again, this one I'm going to do low bar, really kind of get everything feeling right. That's it. Are these off? Are these off balance? Yeah. No, they're right. I was just off balance. It's alright, that's why we do warm-up sets. That felt good. I think I should maybe even go one lower on the supports. I really do like getting I care a lot more about depth on a low bar squat, because that's right, you know, low bar squat, that's what you're doing for power. I really do kind of care about depth here. So the real goals of this are I'm trying to keep my back very straight, keep my depth very low. So I want to get to at least parallel. And I want to get to, I want to keep a flat back. Now it does become a bit challenging because of geometry, and because I don't have the best ankle mobility. I've tried working on it, but it seems to be rather elusive. So I think for the starter, we're actually going to take 2 10-pound plates and give myself a little wedge. Just to start. The second and third sets I probably won't do this, but this will give me a little bit more help on the ankles at first. So we only have 3 people in here today, so right now I don't have to worry too much about it. And it looks like, didn't even notice it first, it is so humid in here that the camera lens is fogging up a bit. Let me see if I can, yeah, sorry, I'll just gotta get that moisture off of it. It's a little bit better. All right, so real simple here. I go for a fairly, touch more. I go for a fairly wide stance on my low bar squats. That's where I feel like I've got the best stability and the most power, right? Really want to come down, ram that bar back up. So what we're also going to do is we're going to do calves, and we'll do raider pulls. It's so humid in here that little pools of condensation have formed on my mat, which is kind of frustrating. But yeah, Hey, John. That's right, we are saying squats. Gonna go low bar here. Gonna throw on about 2/3 to 3/4 of an inch wedge. These little 10-pound bumper plates at the bottom. You know, gonna really try and hit good ankle mobility, or trying to compensate for poor ankle mobility, I should say, by really trying to drive those knees forward. I want to be hitting sets of 10 at minimum here. If I can hit a set of 12, I'm going to be even happier. Really, 3 sets of 12 on this would make me pretty pleased. All right. So, set myself up for this. We're going to get going. Let's do this. Come on, strong like bull. Come on! Did not like that. No. I feel so weak today. Ugh. 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 Didn't like that. Shit. Yeah. On that last one, it kind of felt like my ass came up a lot too soon, or like not it kind of in conjunction, and that I put too much back into the last rep. Hard to tell from y'all's angle, so I'll move you guys to the side angle for the next rep. I did not like the way that felt on that last rep. Something's, I don't know, I just didn't feel like I had quite the same amount of smash that I normally do. 315 is not that heavy for me, so I should be able to 10 rep that with no issue. I wanted 12, frankly, especially on my first set, but I was definitely feeling it by 7 or 8. There we go. Even calves. I'm only having 20 reps out with no problem. That was really starting to hurt by the last few. Okay, maybe today's a bit of a weak day relative to normal. I didn't sleep particularly well. That might be why. That's all right. Well, here's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to move you on the side, recover. I'm going to hit it for a second set. Because we're still going to do 3 sets of this. If I have to go down to 6 or 8 reps, so be it. But I want to bang them out. At least the first, 6 to 8 reps should be done cleanly. I don't really feel like blowing out my back today. And I don't want to risk poor form. All right. Give me just 1 minute. Need to run inside and grab something. Forgot my watch. I have no idea how long I'm down there for. And it's something I kind of like to keep track of while I hit the heavy sets. So give me 1 moment. All right, there we go. Shit's blocking now. Sweep that off. So, we're going to try for, it does look like that lens keeps fogging up. There's not much I can do about it, it's just that humid in here. Maybe some actual, that's what I need, probably a fan. Makes sense, it's starting to get warm again. It's probably about that time to start using the fan again. We're most of the way through March. Get some fresher, drier air in here, hopefully, as it starts to dry out. I mean, it's humid out there, but it's even more humid in here is what it feels like. So, ventilation should help things dry out a touch. Okay, so what we're gonna do next is push that back in for some reason it came loose. Should be nice and tight. So I'm gonna throw you guys over there. And then I'm gonna try and hit this for another set. I really want to get a depth check and more importantly a form check, right? So what I do not want, okay, right, what I'm looking for is low bar squat, come all the way down like this, right? So you see back is flat. What I don't want is this. That's bad. I want this, not this. I know it sounds subtle, but that's the difference between a back injury and not a back injury. So what we don't want is my back curling over. I really want to put all the stress of this exercise on the hamstrings and on the glutes. The lower back is just there for stabilizing. Unfortunately, due to body physiology, right, my back is going to be at a much lower angle than a lot of people. That's partially because I'm 6'3". This is also why I prefer low bar squats to high bar squats in general, because with a high bar squat, I feel when I'm doing the really heavy stuff, the weight is very far biased forward to the point where it's putting a lot of stress on my knees. And if I really want to go with that heavy quad forward, knee dominant exercise, what I'll do is I'll either front squat with a plate, a pad, to elevate my heels, give me a little bit better ankle mobility, or I'll just do a front squat, right? Because a front squat, you almost have to lean back a little bit more than you otherwise would and keep your torso much more upright. Okay, so I'm going to move y'all over to the side view. Again, I really, really appreciate any and all feedback. I really want to hit this correctly though, so. I'm going to set that down, set this down, over here, there we go. I'll move y'all over to the side. Again, so what I'm looking for here, very simple. I'm looking for here is adequate squat depth and correct back angle. So what we're looking for is, here, I'll do it with this part to explain. What we're looking for is this. Right, you see how my back angle is flat? I don't want this. This is bad. This is where you get injuries. I want this. All right. Now I'm gonna psych myself up and we're gonna hit this. We get up by Van Halen. Let's go. Let's fucking get this. Pissed off. Let's go. One more. I feel like I had a little butt wink on that last one. Otherwise, it felt pretty good. Felt better. How'd that look? Depth? Straightness? Hey, thanks for the first time chat. I'll read that in a moment. Let's finish this. What we got? Cabbage, running C-Bums gear. Thanks for the first time chat. My love that's a new one. That's the first time I need to tell someone. I think you're shit posting based off of that. I'm natty, so my knowledge on steroids is very limited. Even if I wanted to take steroids, I can't. My job would test me for it, and then I'd fail, and then I'd lose my job. So, I'm gonna have to go with a no comment there. All right, calves. But how's the form on those sets? On those reps? Yeah, I know a lot of people like C-Bums content. Hey, if it's working for you, in all seriousness, consult someone with more knowledge than me if you want to take steroids. I don't know what I'm talking about there. Free Tom Wilson. Nah, Wilson fucked up. He needs a suspension. He didn't mean to, right? You know, he very clearly, very remorseful, like immediately after he did it. I think it was not particularly deliberate, but he fucked up. He'll probably get a couple games, and he should. Um, 2 inches bigger arms and 2 inches reduced downstairs. Really depends on where you started in both categories. There's my shitposty answer to your shitposty question. The Adaptive Strongman, that's a good name. How are you doing? Well, thanks for the follow. Welcome on into the bullpen. How much of the Shohei drama have you heard? I know he ended up signing with the crosstown rival. That has more to do with the Angels being incompetent. You know, the Dodgers are basically paying him a $1 billion contract, but Ohtani's a smart guy. He's deferring most of that money. One, that's going to make the Dodgers a stronger team in the immediacy. Two, it's going to give him some tax shelter, because otherwise he gets soaked. I would say a really rather clever move on Otani's part. Okay. So now we've got one more set on squats. We're going to do low bar again. I'd like to go all out and try and get 12 here. If I can't, 10's fine. Really want to keep the form good. Name got me found when nobody's looking for me. I mean, if you choose a name like Adaptive Strongman, I imagine you're at least fairly strong. You know, if you're picking that, you know, you're betting on yourself. Kind of what I did with BullMuscle, so, you know, game recognizing game there. I'm just done on a 4-year mech degree myself. I landed myself in construction, but nuclear must be so cool. There's pros and cons. The regulatory burden, the red tape is abysmal. It is otherworldly. The amount of codes, standards, and regulations you have to work with, I think is unmatched in the nuclear industry. But there's stability, and well, the truth is, if you think climate change / global warming is a serious threat to the global economy, and you want to actually seriously address it, your only answer is nuclear energy at this point. Wind and solar are excellent. We should pursue them to the extent that it makes sense. But we need strong baseload electricity. Especially with the rise of AI, that is going to introduce yet another, that and the growing number of electric vehicles on the road, is going to introduce yet another stress to the grid. You have to produce more power. Interpreter getting fired. Interpreter's gambling was in the whole big. Sean gave him cash to pay off said debt. Wow. This is, you gotta have a good circle. You can't surround yourself with shysters. That's tough. That's real tough. So, all right. I'm gonna relax, psych up, and go for set 3 here. It's a disabled strongman division. On Instagram, found a saving notice of power of social media. Well, as a nuclear engineer, you can imagine my social media is extremely limited. Between this and my Discord, just type !Discord if you want in. That's about it. You're not going to find me on Insta. You're not going to find me on Twitter. You're not going to find me on Meta. Any of those platforms. If you see BullMuscle, you'll see me on YouTube. But really all I do on YouTube is export the VODs. I don't really do anything else on YouTube. If you see my account or BullMuscle or my likeness used anywhere on Instagram or Twitter or any of those other social media, that's not me. So just be aware of that. I don't think I'm relevant enough to get, you know, abused for my content, but if that's what's happening, you just know, you heard it here first, it's not me. Didn't pull a Pete Rose. Oh, for God's sake. Shohei wasn't betting on baseball. That's ridiculous. Also, free Pete Rose. Dude needs to be in the Hall of Fame. And Bud Selig and Rob Manfred need to. Bud Selig was the one who really had the axe to grind, but Rob Manfred needs to end this ridiculous charade against Rose. Keeping anonymity due to work. It's a combination of factors. One is my employer would strongly prefer for me not to use any social media. And that's fair. That's one big part of it. The second is that, look, I put a lot of effort into these Twitch streams, a lot of effort into my Discord, and that's enough. I spend probably too much time on screens as it is. I don't need to be on 7 different forms of social media running 7 different accounts. I just don't want to do it. And then the other reason is that I think a lot of those social media apps cause brain rot. Instagram is a way to bring yourself misery because comparison is the thief of joy. And much of the time on Instagram, you're watching people's polished and curated pictures of an idealized life that they're not actually living. TikTok is Chinese Communist Party social engineering brain rot. The less you use it, the better off you are. Twitter incentivizes low value and low level thinking because you cannot post cogent content in a 140 character limit. So And then Facebook is full of bots and other rather unsavory stuff, so the less Facebook one uses, the better. So I was looking for sort of a little form critique on the last set. I didn't get it, so on this set, y'all, please do that. 140, I haven't been on Twitter ever. It's been 280 for a while now. Okay, that still doesn't fix the problem. Twitter incentivizes low-end clapbacks and low-level thinking. I'm not interested in it. I've never used Twitter, and I never will use Twitter. Yeah, I saw Chris Simon, rest in peace. With content, recipes, social life, can't really lie about if you're a content creator. No, and look, so I'm not doing this for money, right? You can see, it's hard to tell because I'm wearing white, but you'll see the little financial independence counter here in the bottom left corner when I stand up. But I don't need that. Don't need it. It's not worth it to me. All right, so here, again, y'all really want to focus on a flat back. I do not want to be curling my lower back. That's a way to get hurt, okay? I'm not looking for butt wink. Try to eliminate butt wink. If you see it, tell me, yo, you had butt wink on reps, I don't know, whatever, and whatever. And then depth. I want parallel, so crease the hips at the top of the kneecaps. If I don't hit depth, tell me what reps I don't hit depth on. Really, again, the goal here is to try and, this is my last heavy set, like truly heavy set, so I want to hit this correctly. I'm really going to go for 12, but I want each rep to be good. I'd rather have 8 good reps than 12 mediocre reps. All right? So yeah, adaptive strongman, if you are a legit strongman, I would really appreciate a form check here. Oh, I just popped my back. Whew, that hurt. Okay. Oh, I just popped it a bunch of times too. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move this out of the way. I know we're going slow today, but I always do when it comes to squats. I'd rather take my time and hit it hard. We're going to go with an old-fashioned one here. We'll go dominance and submission by Blue Oyster Cult. I'm going to psych myself up, we're going to hit this. Down, deep, up, 1, up, 2, up, 3, up, 4. Up, 11. Up, 12. Here we go, form checking. Come on! Come on! Calves. Not bad. Would you like to be brutally honest? Only feedback, not negative questions from observation? Absolutely, go for it. I think it's my biggest weakness is my ankle mobility, but it's also a little bit of a body physiology problem. I'm fairly tall and I have fairly long legs, which does make hitting those real deep squats a bit of a challenge. I am not someone who is one of these people that believes ass to grass is the only way to squat properly. A lot of that, I really don't like the way it makes my knees feel. It puts way too much stress on my knees. Those last couple reps was where you build the muscle though. So the squats in particular, those heavy, deep breaths at the top is what really, really makes it hurt. That's forcing oxygen into your body. Basically telling your body, yo, you either lift this or you get crushed, build more muscle immediately. That's the stimulus you should be looking for on a set of squats. The rest of them went over Nebraska, I appreciate it. Yeah, now adaptive, okay, so strongman. You're new to this channel, I appreciate feedback. I appreciate having a critic or two. However, there are people who will come in and just say, yo, your form is trash, and insist that theirs is the only valid perspective, and those people are unhelpful. They can fuck right off. Those are too fast. Time under tension builds strength. You're becoming a sprinter. After rep 5, you lost upper back tension at the top. So, okay. I need to explain something here. The strongman, you're correct that my squats were pretty quick there. These are not, I'm not doing these for time under tension. That's gonna come next. we're going to do really quad-centric time under tension style squats on these next few sets. When I do low bar squats, I do them for explosiveness. For me, I find that I get the best result that way, right? A low bar squat is sort of the perfect middle ground between a quad-centric lift and a glute and ham-centric lift, right? A Romanian deadlift will be better in terms of glute and ham hypertrophy, and a high bar squat will be better in terms of quad hypertrophy. A low bar squat is sort of right in that sweet spot that allows you to use the heaviest weight. And why does that matter? So, one of the biggest reasons that I do really heavy weight on low bar squats is because keeping that up here, all that heavy weight compressing down on me is forcing me to expand my rib cage, really breathe deep. If you've ever done the workout super squats, you know what I'm talking about. The super squats is telling you to take 3-4 breaths at the top, which especially in those last few reps, you can see that I was doing. The reason I'm doing that is, again, it's expanding that rib cage and focusing on raw explosive power. But you're right, right? If you're looking for hypertrophy, what you want is time under tension. A real slow 1, 2, 3, up, which is what we're about to do. But that's 100% excellent feedback. You're absolutely dead on about the value of time under tension. 100%. And that, yes, that is what we're going to do next. What did we do last time on high bar though? I don't remember. So we did sets of 10 at 265. Interesting. Here's what I'm going to do. We'll take off these plates for a moment. No, I know what I'm going to do. Yes. Where to go? Let's start it on 265 and see how it feels. I was thinking about going 275, but I'd rather, on these, time under tension form is more valuable. Explosive is fun, you need to keep that upper back tight when coming back up. Yeah, you're right. There was 1 or 2 where I felt like I was trying to explode so hard when I rammed the weight back up, it actually briefly came up off my shoulders a bit. That's true. If you look back, and I always look at my VODs, you fold over at the upper body. Okay, so you're saying, that was 315. So when you're saying folding at the upper body, are you saying I'm folding down here, or I'm folding more like up here? There is a difference. Both are not ideal, but one is far worse than the other. Now, this is extremely useful feedback. I'm actually really glad you're on here and telling me. It's extremely valuable information. Second one, okay, so further up. That's still not optimal. And that's something I need to fix. But that's far lower risk of injury than folding over at the bottom. I was really trying to focus on that, keeping my back flat at the bottom. Because in the past, I've gone back and watched some VODs, where especially in the later reps, I notice my back is starting to round. I'm getting a little bit of butt wink like this, and this is unsafe. You really want to keep that flat spine. You don't want butt wink, you don't want a rounded spine, because that's a good way to get hurt. So, no, that is really useful feedback. Thank you very much. As far as the explosiveness, that's kind of my background. High school, I played football, right? And I was an offensive lineman. So in high school, right, in football, especially on the O-line, right, what are you doing? You're getting down in 3-point stance and you're exploding, right? So that's how I was taught to squat. I was taught to explode from the bottom, try to ram it up as hard as you can no matter what the weight is. And there's pros and cons to that. Front squats are a great alternative to strengthening upper back as well. Plus, oh, don't worry, we're going to do front squats. We're nowhere near finished. First, we got high bar though. So, because I'm kind of tall and my ankle mobility sucks, I like to do elevated. Oops. Let's kick this. There we go. Get it even again. I like to do elevated high bar squats. So now a high bar squat, right? Your torso is going to be more upright. More emphasis will be put on the quads as opposed to the glutes and hams, and you won't be able to do as much weight. So you guys can see my heels are a bit up, they're a bit elevated because they're on plates. What this allows me to do is keep my balance with a more vertical torso and really focus on quad drive. That's what we want here, all right? Now I will be facing the other way just because for safety reasons it's a little bit better. But the point remains. The other thing I like to do on these elevated high bar squats, you guys probably noticed that on my low bar squats, I take a fairly wide stance. On high bar squats, I'll go for a much narrower stance. Something around the realm of, maybe around shoulder width apart. To me, I feel like I get my most stability, most power from a wide stance in the low bar squat form. That's what we're trying to do with those prime movers, hit the heaviest weight and the most explosiveness. So that's how we're going to do these. All right. Yeah, we'll start at 265 here. All right. I feel like I have the perfect song for this. Same as a front rower at rugby union. Let's go. Rugby is awesome, dude. I actually played rugby after college for a little while until I got a pretty nasty concussion and I decided, nah, I'm good. Front squats are ready, yeah. I'm looking for AI dumbbells. Cat Jam, what the hell's an AI dumbbell? I've never heard of that. There we go. Let's play the next song on that same album, Secret Treaties by Blue Oyster Cult, one of my favorites. It's called ME-262, and it's about the first jet, really the dawn of the jet age at the end of World War II. The Germans had come up with was actually really interesting little jet fighter. Unfortunately, it was subject to some poor design decisions from up high in the Third Reich, which kind of doomed its use, especially as the war was very quickly coming to an end. But 10 years, many concussions had. I got hit enough in football, and then the last concussion I had was pretty nasty. Like, I was talking completely incoherently. I had to go to the hospital and get stitches, so no. I'll stick to touch rugby, which is still a ton of fun, but a little bit safer. It's not worth it. That concussion, among a whole lot of other things, that rotten year that was 2020, messed me up, so I'm good. Someone asked if I had ever used a commercial gym. The answer is yes, but not since 2021. Ever since I bought this house here in South Carolina, I built this out, so I haven't needed it. Okay. Let's go. High bar squat. So you'll notice, right, I'm not making a shelf with my rear delts and my traps. I'm just putting it on my traps. I'm on. I should have given myself another minute to rest. It felt good. I think I'm going to go stick in the 6 to 7 rep range and go up to 275. I'll do higher reps for front squats after this. We'll do calves as well. Then we'll do calves. Junkers jump up. Overhead gear, probably should. No, you shouldn't. So, statistically speaking, the rates of concussions in football where we do have helmets are higher because football players think they're safer, so they make more risky hits. In rugby, you're taught to really wrap up and not go for the boomstick. And because of that, with your concussions, you're not taught to use your head as a battering ram. No, rugby's got it right. Going without helmets forces people instinctually to think about protection and preservation. So no, I actually, I disagree with that. Red Hot Chili Peppers, Higher Ground, this is my life walk in the set. All right, I'll listen to that one after finish on ME 262. Felt like I was going a lot slower on those reps. It felt good. I like that. That was probably a 1.5 to 2 second eccentric, which is about right. You know, I'm not doing a full-on pause squat today, which I have done. We're talking about difficult. That keeps you in the hole for 2-3 seconds, and then you got to explode up. Ooh, that's tough. You really see you stay last staying engaged. Avoid the knees. As you are past parallel, currently could be an inch or two. Okay, so the knees were going valgus. They were going a bit inward. Okay, so in general, what that means is I don't think my ankles were canted out enough. What I found is that if my ankles are canted out, maybe more like a 25 to 30 degree angle, it's very difficult for me to do this. With this, I can feel it. It doesn't feel right. Whereas I can much more naturally do this. But if I'm here, this is very easy, right? That doesn't hurt. But keeping your legs on the outer edge when your knees or your ankles are pretty much directly forward, that's a lot harder. Even just doing that without weight, I feel my knees wanting to go in. So I'm gonna cant my ankles out a bit more, I think. No, that's really good feedback too. The NFL can try to incorporate it all at once, Big Red, but that has to happen at an institutional and a cultural level. And that, right, teaching kids how to tackle is something that's done at age, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old. That's where you have to teach it. If you don't teach it correctly at the early stages, it's so hard to undo that muscle memory. And I know this because, right, in the era where I grew up, and I feel like an old man saying this, but in the era where I grew up, right, a lot of the concussion stories, Junior Seau committing suicide, for instance, right, that hadn't happened yet. I grew up in the Bush era, right, the 2000s. In the 2000s, we had, I remember on ESPN, every Sunday, they'd run a little segment called Jacked Up, where someone was getting absolutely demolished on a crushing hit, right? And and the announcers would be like, he got jacked up. It was like, obviously the dude got concussed. Like, right, you have to deal, you have to get away from that mindset, and that's just gonna take time. Hey, here we were here in Australia. Oh, you're from the land down under. All right. Hey, I love my my homeboys from Australia. Y'all are just British Texans, and I absolutely love that. I consider myself a Texan. I've lived there longer than anywhere else, so love it. Yes, you're British Texans. No, don't fight it. Yes, it's a compliment. All right, here we go. All right, I'm gonna focus on keeping the knees out here. All right, it's going a bit wider and really camp the ankles. There we go. One more. Felt better. That I might die. Whoa. Bounce, bounce. Ever injured yourself on stream? Yeah, once. Rep 1, they moved in, but you took notice. Well, right, so, yeah. On rep 1, I was kind of trying to adjust my form. Right, so sometimes you have to feel it out if you're trying to make a adjustment on the fly. So yeah, it makes sense. The first rep wasn't perfect, but that's good. I kind of ironed it out. Yeah, I'm really focusing on depth. Now that we're over, right, I'm not doing any sets for like a PR level of strength. These are all sets of 7s, 10s, 12s. Shit, I think I did 13 on that last set of 315. All right. I think that was 20. Was that a 19 or 20? Hard to keep track sometimes. So what am I doing there? I'm doing dumbbell pullovers. Yeah, no, my lats have gotten way better. You can go back to some of the old YouTubes and streams from 2022 and 2023, and you can see how much more work I've put specifically in my lats. I really worked on a lot of rows, a lot of lat exercises, a lot of contraction, pull downs, pull ups. I really do think I've gotten good at that. Oh God, you look younger, more fresh, amazing. Well, I don't think you've been here for a little while. Maybe it's because I shaved the stash. I have sometimes hurt myself on stream. It does happen. Sometimes your ego will make you do something you really shouldn't. Sometimes you just have a bad day. And you gotta know, sometimes you gotta know when to fold. It shouldn't happen very often, mind, but if it does, it's okay. Come back and hit it hard. One thing I wish you Aussies would do is fucking embrace nuclear power already. For some reason, y'all are content to just mine all the uranium and then ship it off to China or Russia or anywhere else instead of, use it to generate your own power. For some fucking stupid reason, you insist on burning coal. Why? All you're doing is making your fire seasons even worse. Again, love you, Australia. There are two things I think that y'all do are really fucking stupid. Not using your uranium resources to power your country and your gun laws. I live in the American South. This shouldn't surprise you. You remind me of Channing Tatum. I think that's a compliment. I was born with talipes, equinovirus, a type of clubfoot, had multiple surgeries, caused my bones to be removed from my foot, so I have little no ankle mobility, my nerves are dead right in my calf up to my ipso severe muscle atrophy. In short, I can't calf raise. Interesting. So, do you squat then? It seems like you would squat. At least you're sitting here giving me really great advice on squats, so I'm just kind of assuming that you would. But if you don't, I'd love to know. Australian energy is really expensive too. Exactly, because all they do is focus on continuing their coal industry, even though solar would work brilliantly basically in northern Oz or western Oz, because you got the outback. You got loads and loads of solar intensity. Now, granted, you need a ton of transmission lines to get that to all the population centers in the southeast in the southeast and in Queensland, but still. I have a little canister of Vegemite. It's actually not bad. I used way too much of it the first time. I didn't realize just how little you really need. It's got a really nice umami flavor if you use it in the right proportion. So talk to me about American cuisine. What are some traditional American soups? Probably the most well-known is chicken noodle soup, which is chicken stock, bits of chicken. Usually the way I do my chicken noodle soup is I'll do it homemade. I'll get one of them big Costco rotisserie chickens, eat on that for a day, strip all the bones, the carcass of the meat, boil the bones to make a stock, use the stock, throw in the leftover meat, throw in some egg noodles, throw in some celery, carrots, onions, black pepper, a little bit of MSG. That's really about it. I started a program for SSB squats. 485 for reps. Jesus Christ, man. Not worthy. You and John, okay, you need to see John in here. John is the only one I've seen in here that's got your level of strength. That's fantastic, man. Yeah, you really are. You're good. You're living up to your name. Look, if you're going to call yourself the adoptive strongman, you better be putting up weight like that. That's awesome, man. Cheers. Split pea is pretty good. That's usually a good Easter soup. In fact, I'm going to probably make that as one of my last meals here because we got a good deal on ham for Easter. So what you do is you take your leftover ham, you take the ham bone, you boil the ham bone make a stock out of it. Then you throw in split peas, your leftover ham, whatever other vegetables you fancy, and boom, you got a split pea soup. Australia did give us that's Foster's. Okay, Foster's is not good. Even most Australians don't drink Foster's. From what I've heard, most Australians drink VB, which is Victoria Bitters. I do like Men at Work, though. All right, what was that Red Hot Chili Peppers song? Clam chowder. Clam chowder, that's a northeastern thing. You won't find very good clam chowder outside of New England, what I found. And then you've got, like in New York and New Jersey, they're big on minestrone. Are there any southern soups? Not as many. The biggest reason being very simple. In the South, it's very hot and humid, so soup is less appealing. We have a lot of stews. Things like, you've got gumbo, you've got etouffee, that sort of thing. In Louisiana, you've got frogmore stew here in South Carolina, stuff like that. Obviously shrimp and grits, but not as much in the way of soups. So interesting, you're the first one to tell me Marmite and Vegemite are not the same thing. Your Foster's beer so yeah, nobody wants Foster's, it's gross. Foster's is piss water. You want to ride this bull? You're not the first one. Good Frito pie. Frito pie, that's Texas. I actually, all right, higher ground, thank you. All right, we'll play a little higher ground. I need to do another set. I'm loafing now. Come on, let's go. This is our last set before front squats. Yeah, we'll do this. Then we got front squats. Let's see. We got this. We got front squats, lunge, Bulgarians, trap bars. Then we're done. This is the trouble with this. This is the trouble with the streams. I love hanging out with y'all, but sometimes I start loafing because I'm too busy talking. Fuck the Greens. Chernobyl is not, okay. Okay, as a nuclear engineer, it's my duty to debunk this one. Chernobyl is not proof that nuclear power is dangerous. Chernobyl is proof that communism is a failed system. The Soviets designed a horrendous reactor. They had a better reactor design called the VVER, deliberately decided not to use it because the RBMK had a better production of waste byproducts that could be turned into weapons. The RBMK was not designed with a containment building because the Soviets were too cheap and lazy to do it. The Soviets lied about its safety record. The Soviets knew about the problems with the graphite tips, didn't care. The operators were not told about what would happen with AZ-5 given the conditions they were running it under, and ironically, above all things, it was a safety test run very poorly to try and pad schedule to lie to the Communist Party secretariats about why the actual reactor blew up. So there we go, that's Chernobyl. Fukushima, look, it was a magnitude 9 earthquake and nobody actually died of radiation poisoning compared to the thousands that died from the actual earthquake and tsunami. US, no, so parts of the US are. Again, the Northeast and the Midwest is going to have a lot more soups because it's colder up there. Oh yeah, no. Any green, I've never found a green party with a functioning brain. I am actually a big, climate change is serious. We really do need to address it, but none of the green parties are serious about doing that. Yeah, no, the Green Party in Australia is just as stupid as the Green Party anywhere else. The difference is the Green Party in Australia and in other parliamentary systems has a lot more power than the Green Party here in the US, which is irrelevant. Nobody cares about the Greens here in the US. Nobody. Like not even, like I have fairly far left, like self-described socialist friends here in the United States. None of them vote for the Greens because they're fucking stupid. Nobody likes the Greens. Okay, come on, we got one more set left. Let's go. Come on. Five. Come on. One more. bad. Calves. All right, that's not bad. Then move to front squat, we're gonna go way down weight. Go for a few more reps. Oh wait, we gotta do pull-ups first. Octavian, you would be incorrect. Trump's an idiot. Trump is entirely unfit for the office. That does not mean I'm a pro-Biden guy. I'm a centrist. That was not ass to grass. I can promise you it wasn't. It only looks that way because I had an elevated platform under my heels. Fuck ass to grass squatting, it hurts my knees, I'm not doing it. That's the angle you're looking at. So, I am really trying to work on my depth. I really do want to get parallel, but it's body physiology. For me, when I go ass to grass, my knees feel like they're broken the next day. It's just not worth it. Come on. 6 more, I think. You can go back in the VOD and see for yourself. I really do. I want crease at the hips at the top of the kneecaps is right for me. Now, if you think, if you get good value from an ass to grass squat yourself, do it. More power to you. But for me, whenever I do it, I feel like my knees, like it causes way too much knee pain. No, I'm not super pro Trump. My biggest issue with Trump is that the protectionism he espouses doesn't actually help the average American. Border security we need to get better at. Trump is correct there. However, the idea that we can just slap tariffs on China and not expect a massive repercussion to our own economy is delusional at this point. Because what China will do is outsource a lot of the final assembly jobs to neighboring friendly countries, and then those will get shipped to the United States. They did that in 2018 and 19 when Trump tried it the first time. But Trump is too egotistical and stupid to understand that's what the Chinese do. The Chinese outsmarted the shit out of, okay, Lil Nas X, Montero, you got it. The Chinese outsmarted the shit out of Trump in his term. Not everything Trump did was bad, but Trump he's run way too much by his ego. Trump plays checkers when other leaders play chess. All right, so Lil Nas X Montero. All right, I'll hit that next. What I do need to do now is go down weight. We're gonna take off plates. I can talk more about politics if need be. If y'all don't want to talk about politics, that's fine. Again, I think very few presidents are objectively terrible or objectively great. I will say George W. Bush was an objectively terrible president. I think the United States would have been far, far better off had we elected Al Gore in 2000. Similarly, actually, while I don't think Clinton was a bad president, I think the world and the United States would have been far, far better off if we had re-elected Bush, the elder, in 1992. George H.W. Bush is one of the most underrated presidents of of the United States, if you ask me. People really don't understand just how incredible managing the fall of the Eastern Bloc and guaranteeing the freedom of Eastern Europe, like just how difficult that was to pull off. And don't kid yourself, the last few years of the Reagan administration were mostly run by that elder Bush. He knew what he was doing. He was a brilliant, brilliant leader. He just wasn't very charismatic. But neither was Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon got a lot done for the United States. There's another hot take. Nixon was nowhere near as bad a president as people make it out to be. He was paranoid, and his paranoia disgraced us as a country. That doesn't mean he was an ineffective leader. His issue with Trump is his poor handling of the onset of COVID, followed closely by his blackmail by foreign adversaries. I've been a lefty my entire life. I have been all over the political spectrum, but I've kind of mellowed out and become a centrist. Like I'm judging the pro-Ukrainian news, it sounds like close to winning the war, the Russian advances occupied areas is the complete opposite. It's neither. Both are incorrect, both are propaganda. Things are more or less at a stalemate. The Russians have been bogged down in and around Avdiivka and Bakhmut for, what, 18 months now? And what is true is that while the Ukrainian state is being on life support from Western aid, Ukraine is bitch slapping the Russians with several generations old technology from the West because the Russians lied about how good their equipment was and how in shape it was. This is what the Russians have been doing since the Soviet era. When the Russians came out with the MiG-25 in the 1970s, the United States was absolutely fucking, we were scared shitless because the Soviets claimed it could do a bunch of shit that it really couldn't. So what we did in the mid-1970s is we greenlit the F-15. The F-15 beat what the Soviets said the MiG-25 could do. Fast forward to the late 70s, and we actually got a Soviet defector who flew a MiG-25 into Japan, where we were able to dissect it, and we realized very quickly how much the Soviets had been lying. So by the 1980s, the F-15 could bitch slap anything the USSR could throw at it, and it still can. There's a reason the F-15 is damn near undefeated in its livelihood, and why the F-15 is a big part of why we bitch slapped Saddam in 1990. Uranium deposit is one of the biggest in the world, that's correct. I don't think it's surrounded by the US military, but I think we may have a deal with security guarantees, which is a good thing because the United States needs to stop importing Russian uranium. We need to get more dependent on uranium from friendly producers like Canada and Australia. So that's great for the Australian economy, and it's great for the United States energy security. So it's a win-win for y'all. We really should be doing better with Mexico. That I agree with. But POC, the truth is somewhere in the middle. The war is at about a stalemate. Frankly, I didn't think we'd be going back to a World War I style trench war in 2024, but here we are. That's basically where we're at. The real problem with the Russian military is that it was built on lies. In the United States, there's a big incentive, right? If the United States was lying about its military capabilities the same way that the Russians do, the media would have a field day because the media is independent enough to make a ton of money on that story if that story were to get out. It would be an absolute scandal. In Russia, because the media is the lapdog of the Russian government, the military can lie about its capabilities all day long and the media can't say anything. That's the biggest difference. The Russians they self-sabotage because they don't allow freedom of the press. This is why the Russians have claimed they've destroyed dozens of Patriot systems, even though the Patriot systems, we have 4K video of the Patriot systems going in and deleting shit tons of Russian equipment basically every day. It's not that the Ukrainians are winning, but it's that the Russians are getting absolutely embarrassed based on what they claimed their capabilities were. In other words, the Russians lied about how strong they really were, and now they're facing the consequences of that. Okay, so we got front squats next. It's a shame because, frankly, the United States and Russia actually have a lot of very good common ground. For instance, I know there were some very tragic and sad shootings in Moscow yesterday. What intelligence, actually the United States tried to warn the Russian intelligence system about the threat because the threat was from a radical Islamist group connected to, I believe, Afghanistan. This is one where there's common interest between the Russian Federation and the United States. Both have a legitimate threat in the form of radical Islamist terrorism, and if we could put aside our differences, the United States and Russia could work together. Unfortunately, that isn't happening for a lot of reasons that are probably a bit too detailed to go into on a Twitch stream. A whole lot of defense through the country version of flying under the radar. Oh, strongman. You ever heard of the AUKUS deal? Y'all are getting nuclear submarines. Cheers, mate. I think they're ISIS agents. I think it's the Chechens. Night masks, you could be correct. We don't have for sure conclusive evidence of who exactly it was, but U.S. intelligence, which is fairly reliable, is saying it's Afghanistan. It's people backed by the Taliban. So it could end up being ISIS. We don't know that for certain, but the initial intelligence reports I saw were Afghan. Which makes sense because the Afghans, well, they hate us, but they also don't really like the Russians either. They remember the 1980s. All right, let's go. Front squats. So, let's hit a set here. 2, 3. Not bad. Let's stick with that. I feel like I should have gotten more there. Need to breathe and talk less. I'm talking too much. This is live manipulated shit. Okay. While that's true, the United States intelligence is also correct a lot of the time. The United States called the Russian invasion of Ukraine when all the European countries said, no, that's not happening. Front squats look decent, 1:35 in the morning. Yeah, bro, go get rest. Cheers. Strongman, if you'd like, come join the Discord. I strongly believe it's radicalism to our Chechens. That's true. A lot of Chechens still remember what happened in Grozny in 1998 and 1999. That isn't lost on them. So it's very plausible. You could be right, Night Masks. We don't have conclusive evidence one way or another yet. That'll probably come in the following week to 2 weeks. All right. Big Game Mikey, Lil Nas X, not the move for working out too. I'm going to switch back, I think we're going to go with some Sammy Hagar here. Let's go with VOA. Yeah, Lil Nas X, if I'm honest, not the move for working out too. Sorry. All right, so we've got, let's see, 2 sets of front squat left, 1 set of pullovers left, and then 9 more sets after that. Trap bars, Bulgarians, and deficit lunges. It's gonna be tough. We'll do Bulgarians after this, I think. Yeah, we'll do Bulgarians. Wait, so you condone the U.S. invasion of the Middle East? No. When did I say that? When? No. POC, you're putting words in my mouth, and that's really annoying. No, the invasion of Iraq was a historic blunder, and it was one of the worst. Remember when I said George W. Bush is the worst president we've had in recent memory in the United States, where he was a terrible president? Yeah, the invasion of Iraq was incredibly stupid. From a geostrategic perspective, it was a total disaster. It also extended and ultimately may have been the cause of the failure of the war in Afghanistan because the United States was too busy fighting another war in Iraq. No, the war in Iraq was a complete blunder. The war in Ukraine is also a complete blunder. Even if the Russians are successful and peel away Chechnya, the Donbass, Zaporizhia, and Kherson, they now have to rebuild all of that and try and deal with a revitalized a revitalized NATO and a stronger, more integrated EU. Not to mention, because of this, they've turned themselves into a pariah state. Look, when North Korea is a country you have to turn to buy weapons from, you're not doing well. You're struggling. The Russians are turning to increased ties and weapons sales with North Korea. And a lot of those North Korean weapons are predictably defective. Whenever you're having to tie yourself to the Hermit Kingdom, that's not good. Good. No, the war in Iraq was fucking terrible. It was a stupid war. It's the biggest foreign policy blunder the United States probably has ever made. Apart from supporting the French over Ho Chi Minh in Vietnam, which was also a massive mistake. Ho Chi Minh was not a communist. Ho Chi Minh simply wanted Vietnamese independence. In fact, Ho Chi Minh wrote many times to Roosevelt and Truman about how much he admired the Declaration of Independence and the Founding Fathers, and viewed the United States as liberators in the 1940s because they were, it was seen as a common foe, right? Freedom from an imperial tyrant, which is what the French were in Southeast Asia. The biggest reason, honestly, that the United States even got involved in Vietnam in the background in the 50s is because the French threatened to exit NATO. And frankly, we should have let them. The French were... I have a rather dim opinion of Charles de Gaulle. I think he was vainglorious and not particularly good at his job. The people who ran the French state in the 40s, the 50s, and the 60s were pretty bad at their jobs. Go ask any Algerian about that. Ho Chi Minh was not, yep. Ho Chi Minh was not a radical. All Ho Chi Minh wanted was Vietnamese independence. Of course, he wanted to control that independence, right? He wanted to be the leader of the country. But what Ho Chi Minh wanted was Vietnamese independence, more than anything else. And we sided with the French for really stupid reasons. All right, I gotta keep hitting these. I'm loafing now. Let's go. No, but make no mistake, the Russian invasion of Ukraine is incredibly self-destructive for the Russian state. Much in the same way that the invasion of Iraq was a really bad idea for the American state. Come on! That's 10. Right, that was 9. There's 10. Choked up a bit. Oh, that's better. No. No. But under no circumstances do I condone the U.S. invasion of Iraq in 2003. Absolutely not. That was an absolute blunder. Now, the invasion of Iraq in 1990 was warranted because Saddam invaded Kuwait. That we had to do. Surrender Mars, good to see you in here. No. Other thing we should have done, especially through the 1970s, was provide economic aid to Anwar Sadat in Egypt to try and pull them away from the Soviet sphere. Carter actually did this rather well with the Camp David Accords, but we should have continued building that relationship. Had we done that, we could have probably seen the Palestinian state sooner, or at least better conditions for the economy in Gaza. And the biggest problem right now with the Israeli strategy, while the Israelis are retaliating because of an just abysmally disgusting terrorist attack by Hamas, right? If you're a young man in Gaza right now, you have no other economic opportunities besides becoming a criminal or a terrorist. There's nothing else economically for you to be able to do in Gaza right now. So when presented with no other options, what are men in Gaza going to do? They're going to get radicalized. So it's not just on Israel, but it's on the international community to build a functioning Palestinian state. This can't continue. If it does, it's just going to be an ever-escalating cycle of violence. And I don't want to see the United States get sucked further into it. If anything, I'd like the United States to exit the Middle East. Unfortunately, the Middle East keeps finding ways to pull us back in. One other thing I'd say about all of this is in 2001, when we invaded Afghanistan to try and root out bin Laden and al-Qaeda, we should have also declared war on Pakistan. Yes, Pakistan is a nuclear power, but Pakistan, we knew back then what was going on. The tunnels and the caves where the terrorists who committed 9/11 lived, they were all in Afghanistan, right at the Hindu Kush Mountains between the border of Afghanistan and Pakistan. What would happen is every winter, all the terrorists would book it into Pakistan where we couldn't touch them, and then they'd come back and recruit more idiots to fight for them, and then the dumb ones we'd kill off. This is another one. We made a monumental error in the 1940s by supporting Pakistan over India. What are your thoughts on the U.S. airman lighting himself on fire in front of the Israeli embassy? He's an idiot. He had brain rot. He spent too much time on Reddit, and he was a communist too. So, yeah, I'm repeating myself. If you're a communist, you're an idiot. I have a very dull opinion of anyone who believes communism in 2024 is a good solution to the world's problems. Listen, that doesn't mean the American system is perfect, and that doesn't mean capitalism is perfect, but communism isn't the answer to the world's problems. No. He had been infected by some pretty disgusting propaganda. No. You gotta remember, right, it's about as stupid as these Queers for Palestine people. You realize, right, Palestine is supported 60 to 70%, right? 60 to 70% of the Palestinian population supports Hamas. Hamas throws rocks at gay people and throws, lesbians and bisexual people and trans people off of tower blocks. Hamas wants to go back to a social structure from the Dark Ages, okay? Hamas is fucking disgusting. Let's be very, very clear. The problem isn't, the problem is that we do not give Palestinian men a better option. There's no economic option to dissuade them from going into the field of terrorism as a career because there's nothing else for them. We have to provide a better option. Which nation is most likely to start a nuclear war? Pakistan. Not even close. It's either Pakistan or North Korea. Iran doesn't have nukes yet, and Iran is smart enough to know not to use them. Iran loves to talk a lot of shit. But Iran, the regime is a little bit more rational than people give them credit for. I didn't say good, I said rational. Are you rooting for Joe Biden or Donald Trump in the upcoming re-election? Both are entirely too old for the position. If you are one of these people that thought Joe Biden was too old in 2020, then you must also think Donald Trump is too old in 2024. There is either an age limit or there is not. You can't make qualitative statements saying, oh, well, he looks more energetic, or oh, he looks more coherent. Both of them spit out word sausages by the dozen, okay? So my answer is I'm looking at third parties right now. I hope No Labels actually funds someone. I thought Nikki Haley was a pretty good pick as a South Carolina resident. She did a pretty good job here as governor. I know a lot of people don't like Haley, but I do. Since it looks like Haley is not going to be in the running, if it really comes down to Biden versus Trump and all the third-party candidates are unserious, I don't believe either will make it to 2028 because both are in pretty poor health. Biden is mentally failing, and Trump has publicly mentioned that his diet consists of KFC, Diet Coke, and McDonald's. If you're 77 and that's what you're putting in your body, you're just not going to live that long in general. So between those two options, I'm probably going to vote on whoever the vice presidents are, if that's what it comes down to, because I don't believe Joe Biden or Donald Trump, if reelected, will see the year 2028. Enough mental gymnastics. No, that's not what we're looking for. So there you go. You want my answer? I'm in a bad way as a centrist. I voted in the Republican primary for Haley because Haley is an objectively better answer than Donald Trump is. And it really bothers me. Like, all the criticisms of Haley are pretty unfounded. I mean, she has experience as an executive officer, right? Governor of South Carolina. And South Carolina, I might want to point out, is a state with one of the lowest unemployment rates in the country, one of the fastest rates of population growth in the country, and one of the highest rates of wage increases in the country. Is everything perfect here? Absolutely not. We have our school systems are pretty poor, and we still have some seriously impoverished and backwards areas. But at the same time, the amount of improvement South Carolina has seen over the last 20 years should not be dismissed. So I actually thought Nikki Haley was a terrific option. Unfortunately, she didn't get it. Octavian, okay, you got to understand something about any Southern politician. The Civil War is a bit of a third rail down here. And if you go, you have to, unfortunately, it's a bit like, okay, you know how in Argentina every politician has to say the same stupid stuff about the Falklands, even though the Falklands are completely irrelevant to the current state of Argentina? It's sort of the same thing. There are Southerners who just care about that and will fly the Confederate flag until the day they die. I know, I live among them. I'm not one of them, but I do know who they are. So, yeah, everybody's going to say, oh, it was about states' rights. The right to do what? Duh, the right to own slaves. Okay, let's not beat around the bush. But I understand why she said that. And again, that's not enough. Look at actions. Don't look at sound bites. Don't look at words. Right? She was a good governor here. That's what I would say. Who's your background? Intelligence institutions, special ops, military, knowledge about politics and geopolitics in the Western world. I would say I'm not the most knowledgeable, but I'm not a complete dullard either. I am a nuclear engineer. If you look at my About tab, scroll down, Night Masks, you'll see what I am and what I do. You can actually type !job to understand a little bit more. But I need to do another set now. Now, frankly, I think, in particular, our adversaries in the world are thanking whatever deities they pray to that Nikki Haley did not get chosen over Trump. Because I think Nikki Haley scares a lot of them. You know. And thanks for the follow, too, by the way. All right, let's go. You have to remember, too, South Carolina is the state that started the Civil War. We are very much in the deep South here. There are cultural baggages that come with that. Change the shape of you. All right, so we need to do Bulgarians next. Okay. So here's how we're going to do Bulgarians. We'll do these with dumbbells, and then we're going to do lunges. And then we'll finish with the trap bar. Now, if you guys are curious about what I believe, in terms of politics or economics, I'm happy to explain it to you. Just because I'm a centrist doesn't mean I hold center positions on everything. For instance, when it comes to gun rights, I'm on the right. When it comes to estate taxes, I'm on the left. When it comes to the environment, I generally tend to be more on the left. Are you allowed to say your opinion on such matter working in such sensitive industry? There are some things I can and cannot say, but if you ask me a question that I cannot answer, I'll tell you no comment, and well, that's about all that'll happen. If I say no comment on anything, there's a reason for that. Just, respect that and we're good. I don't like front squats either, but boy, they feel good. My quads are on fire. All right. We're gonna do Bulgarian splits next. Let's start with 40-pound dumbbells and go from there. So you can go, yes, yes, and these plates can come off to the side. We don't need them anymore. We didn't really need them in the last sets either, but still. Is that shorts? Do you need them? Yes. Okay. I get, surrender, that you're in here because you're horny. You're not the only one. For those of you who are in my audience because you find me attractive, you are welcome to stay here. The one rule I have is that I don't want you to get me kicked off Twitch. So, right, if I were to take my shorts off, I would get kicked off of Twitch. That's how that works. Don't get me kicked off of Twitch. All right. Oh. Ooh. Ah, for that stretch. The BullMuscle was kind of killed himself. Yeah, he killed himself the same way Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. No, he got whacked. No, the Boeing whistleblower 100% got whacked. He didn't kill himself. So we got 8 more sets to do. 2 more of those. We're gonna rack this back up here. We'll hit lunges. We'll finish with the trap bar dad. But it's allowed here. No, it's not. Twitch keeps changing the rules on that. So it's not. First off, okay, I'll put it this way. Surrender. It's allowed if you are a big name Twitch streamer bringing in lots and lots of ad revenue to Twitch. If you're a small fish like me, they find reasons to kick you off the platform. So the rules aren't the same. It depends on how big you are, and I'm not that big. I will say night masks, if you want a good play on the Boeing dysfunction, which I can explain. So Boeing used to be an engineering force to be reckoned with. They were engineering forward. That was their top priority, and almost everything was done at their Everett, Washington facility. The Seattle metro area, since the 60s, has been the hub for Boeing. And as a result, there's a lot of aircraft design, engineering, and quality control knowledge. In the early 2000s, Boeing moved their headquarters to Chicago to be closer to the markets, which was a mistake. In a cost-cutting measure, Boeing moved a lot of their production for their newer planes from Everett in Washington, which is a union state where wages are very high, here to Charleston, South Carolina, where union is less popular and wages are lower, which is great from a cost savings perspective, but unfortunately, you're not going to get 60, 70 years of aircraft production knowledge to move across the country like that. So there isn't that same knowledge base in South Carolina, and as a result, quality control inevitably suffers, and this is what you're seeing. No, Boeing made the bed that they now find themselves in the early 2000s. And again, I'm fairly pro-capitalist and pro-business, but this is one where, no, Boeing needed to listen to its union leaders, and they failed to. Yes, Boeing was paying a premium to keep their knowledge base in Everett, but that's also why Boeing put out high-quality products decade after decade after decade, and now they're sabotaged by their own hand. If you want a good stock play, I was actually talking about this earlier in the broadcast. If you want a really good stock play against Boeing, high risk, high reward, I'll grant, is REE Automotive. That's REE. And they just signed a deal with Airbus for drive and steer-by-wire tech, which I'm guessing Airbus is going to use in their production facilities to improve quality control and improve production time while cutting costs. So definitely, if you want to play the direct anti-Boeing competitor, go for Airbus stock, but Airbus stock is expensive. Disclaimer, thanks for the disclaimer there, Mikey. Yeah, obviously, right. If you're getting your stock advice from a Twitch streamer, do take it with a grain of salt, do your own research, but that's what I'm doing. Yes, I think that's a good play against Boeing. These problems at Boeing have existed for about 15 to 20 years at this point. The rot set in when they started moving out of Washington. All right, one more set of that. Really feeling that stretch. I need to slow down on those. Okay, what is your thoughts on prioritizing profits over public safety in corporations? It's always going to happen. You need a strong regulatory agency to ensure it doesn't happen too much. Companies are profit maximizing by design. That is the nature of capitalism. And even in a non-capitalist economy, you're going to see design and engineering failures from time to time. It happens. Engineering is not, you can never engineer something to be 100% safe. Never. Nothing is 100% safe. And if you tried, you will incur ungodly costs in trying to do so. Believe me, as a nuclear engineer, I can speak out of sheer experience here. You cannot make something 100% safe. Nothing in life is 100% safe. What you have to do is find those that were criminally negligent and give them a beating and a cost so heavy that future companies are disincentivized from doing the same thing. For instance, in the 1970s, Ford used a cost-cutting measure on the Pinto. Everybody knows about this story. Even though the Pinto was no more fire-prone than other shit boxes of that era, especially that horrible rot box known as the VW Beetle, Ford paid a huge cost in public relations. As a result, you know what? Ford didn't do that shit again for about 20 years, and then they did the Explorer with the Firestone crisis. But that could have been prevented by the government having better CAFE standards on trucks. So, my answer is that no solution is perfect, night masks. And the idea that there is a perfect solution is incorrect. Nothing's ever going to be 100%. You have to, right, again, engineering accidents will happen. You have to adopt a culture of safety first and public questioning, but these things do happen. It's just a reality of the modern world. It doesn't matter what country you're from. It's just, things fail. Complex systems do occasionally fail. We have to accept that as a minimum acceptable amount of risk while trying to minimize the amount of times that happens. It's a delicate balance. It feels like the government is failing to hold companies accountable. Most fines are rolled into cost of business now. I would agree with that to a point. It depends on what industry. Go ask any nuclear company if they feel as though the government isn't holding them accountable. I promise you. Yeah, the regulations we deal with, if any other industry had to deal with the regulations the nuclear industry has to deal with, that industry would cease to exist. If we showed a safety regulatory regime to the oil and gas industry at the same way we forced the nuclear industry to comply to, the oil and gas industry would be crying for their mommy overnight. Not even close. So, you think private firms should no longer be private, state ownership intervene? Absolutely not. No. Hard pass on that. State-owned firms cause just as many problems, if not more. Go look at British Leyland for how that turned out. If you want an example of why state-owned firms are a really, really bad idea most of the time. Now, there are some exceptions. Those exceptions tend to be natural monopolies. Things like sewage systems, things like water infrastructure. These are items where it doesn't make sense to have a competitive private market. The costs of the barriers to entry are too high, and as a result, you're not going to have a competitive free market. So there are exceptions, but in general, absolutely not. You want to let private enterprise do its thing. There will be repercussions. The key is balancing repercussions with risk. It's not a perfect system. But no, nationalizing firms is a really bad idea, especially given how incompetent the US government can be at the time. No. Now, I like the idea of threatening nationalization to keep companies in line, but don't actually do it. I'd love to see, for instance, all right, I'll say this before I hit another set, but with the East Palestine railroad crash from Norfolk Southern, I would love for the federal government to create the USRA as a shell company just to be a boogeyman in case more of these accidents keep happening. Create the USRA and say, if you don't get your shit together, we will nationalize you. But use the threat of nationalization as a bullying tool. Don't actually do it. That's the key. No, I'm not a fan of nationalization at all. Go ask the British how that worked in the 1970s. There's a reason the United Kingdom had to get bailed out by the IMF in 1976. Slower, there we go. Maybe jailing crooked executives would do more good than finding companies. Yes, now we're talking. This I can get involved with. For instance, the crooks behind the 2008 financial crash should have absolutely been thrown in prison. 100%. This is one where I agree with the left. Nationalizing the company, however, is a really, really bad idea because the government doesn't know how to run in the industry. The Icelanders did this. Only country where you saw the bankers get criminally prosecuted and thrown in jail for the 2008 financial crash was Iceland. I think they did it the right way. Globalization and protectionism. Do you think Trump's stance on bringing industries back to the hands of local workers is a more beneficial approach to the United States? It's a loaded question because Trump's stance on bringing industries back to the hands of local workers isn't realistic. Coal mines aren't coming back, no matter what happens. Technology's been automated. Most coal mining is done by robots now. You need far fewer workers than you did in 1955 to run a coal mine, for instance. That's what's going to happen. Wages in the United States for most manufacturing are too high to compete, with the exception of high-tech and specialized industries. Biden is doing the same thing. People think Trump is the big protectionist. No, Biden is also the protectionist. I'm, in general, a bigger fan of globalization. Specialization is going to create winners and it's going to create losers, but at the same time it's going to reduce and decrease costs of goods. And you shouldn't make it to a ridiculous extreme. We shouldn't be sabotaging ourselves to promote free trade, right? Free trade is good, but it's got to be a double-way street. For instance, in the 1980s, the Japanese took over a large chunk of the US car market, but the Japanese didn't open up their own markets. It was impossible to find dealership space or markets or dealers willing to market American cars in Japan. Lee Iacocca talked a lot about this in the 80s and 90s when he saved Chrysler. So you've got to strike a balance. I feel like I'm a broken record. The centrist wants to strike a balance. In general, no, I'm not as much a fan of Trump's stance on bringing industries back to the hands of the United States, because it's not really what it is. It's protectionism. And go look at the Smoot-Hawley tariff, and you can see just how poorly that actually works out. It's not a good idea. It really isn't. All right. I think that was my third Bulgarian set. So now we've got deficit lunges. So we're going to take our 45-pound plate, scoot it in here, and we're going to place this bad boy up. And if we go to start, we'll go with 150. Now, protectionism is, it sounds very nice on paper, but it doesn't work very well in practice. Look, you can try and promise it to the Rust Belt blue-collar worker till the cows come home, but steel isn't ever coming back the way it existed 60 years ago. You know, for instance, it's just there are too many other producers that can produce for too low of a wage. Now, what you can do is try to encourage unionization in other countries to bring up wages in other countries. But that's a slow process. That takes time. Worry about how our economies things become automated. I agree. Automation does pose some challenges. And people under a certain IQ level are going to get hit hard. That's going to be a very interesting scenario. I don't think UBI is the answer. If we go the UBI route, I think that's inflationary unless you take away other benefits. Now, Richard Nixon actually argued about this in favor of it in the early 1970s. But I've never seen any UBI politicians take the idea of, pro-UBI politicians, take the idea of removing additional benefits seriously. If you're going with UBI, the only way UBI would work, and even then I'm not sure it would, is if you removed all the other federal welfare and aid programs to keep it about a net neutral. All right. Let's go, won't get fooled again by the who. All right, we're gonna do deficit lunges here, and for that, actually, I prefer doing these barefoot, because these shoes are knockoff Chinese Chuck Taylors, and they're not very well made. So lunges are a good way to absolutely destroy them, and I'd like to keep them functioning for a few more months, get my money's worth out of them, even though they cost only like 15 bucks. All right. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do lunges. So we're going to start here. No, that's a bit too close. We can push it further forward. There we go. His income never believes stance falls outside of the extreme right or left and west, but their perspectives maybe it may differ, which would be beneficial. Well, so I have been a left winger and I've been a right winger before. I have had opinions and realized, you know, I didn't take X or Y into account, and now my opinions have changed. My opinions will continue to change. Your opinions are not your identity. It's very important to remember that, because then you get locked into a certain, you know, a certain type of radicalization where you cannot bring yourself to admit you were wrong on something, because that's an indictment on your own self. New information should be able to change what you think of something. And I wish more people would understand that. It's okay to change your mind. All right, let's go for some lunges. There's nothing wrong with changing your mind. So these are deficit lunges, so I'll probably do fewer reps, but go real slow. You can't really see it out in front, but there's a 45-pound bumper plate about 3 feet in front of me where I'm trying to place my front foot when I lunge. Oh, that's it, yeah. That's good. Four. 5. 6. Oh God, my quads. 7. 8. That's good. All right, we'll do 2 more sets of those. Give me 1 second here, I gotta pee. Sorry about that. Couldn't hold it any longer. Oh, that was gross. So I'm going to buy your integrity. What's your opinion? Depends on the price. So, money? No, nothing. I can't get bought. I have enough, as you can see. I'm basically already financially independent. So money, insofar as for my own personal benefit, is of very little use to me at this point. Now, using that money for a charity or a cause, that's a different story. But in terms of personal gain, like, it's the reason I'm not really putting ads on this channel. I don't feel that the peanuts I would get is worth the decrease in quality for my average viewer. There's way too much dirt and dust on this. Now, does that mean I would make compromises? I still would. For instance, I personally just don't give a fuck about abortion. If I was a politician and I could trade my vote on abortion for a vote on something I thought was more important, like the economy, yes, I would do it. That's how the legislative sausage is made. And the idea that being this unflagging person who never compromises on anything and never makes deals, well, when you get too many of those, nothing gets done. So, again, just like everything else, there's a balance. I know I sound like a broken record, but it's true. All right, we're going to do reverse lunges on these. So reverse lunges, I'm going to start up here on the platform and come down. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. It's a very cynical question to ask, though, Knight. Kind of sounds like you're implying that I'm someone with no morals just because I'm a centrist, which is kind of a shitty thing to do. Alright, that's good. I think that was either 6 or 7, I lost count. Someone to use the legal system to restrict financial access. Okay, so I think you're missing the point here. The reason I am almost financially independent at the age of 28 is entirely because I spend very little. As a result, my needs are very low. What that means is, God forbid, someone were to try something like that, I feel as though I could lean on my social circle to get by. If I really had to, I could take a minimum wage job and survive. So, in general, I would stand up for what I thought was right. Now, it's easy to say that. It's a lot harder to do it, I will grant. But I think this is a scenario that doesn't make a lot of sense. My opinions are not radical enough in really any area to where I think the quote-unquote elite would consider me a threat. They would consider me something of maybe an eccentric centrist. That's a tongue twister. But I don't think any of my existing opinions are so radical as to threaten the truly top of the top end. But it sounds like you're saying how far truthful my integrity is, right? That's fine and good to test my integrity and morals, but like, it also sounds like you're trying to set a standard that is impossible to meet. Right? Nobody's going to be perfect. Everybody's going to be human and make judgments and error and lapses in judgment. That is part of the human condition. I'm going to fuck up. Everyone's going to fuck up. I'm going to try and own it when I do fuck up, but you know, you get what I'm saying. All right. We got one more set on this, and then we've got trap bars, and we're done. But I live very well on, for the United States, very little money, even for South Carolina. My total spending for the year 2023 was under $20,000, right? Making $20,000 in the United States per year is just not that hard. You can do it part-time, and I have enough skills to where someone would probably hire me. Really, if I wanted to, I could even monetize this platform and cover most, if not all, of my expenses just from that. Combine that with a minimum wage, right? Because of my physical size, I can do manual labor for people. Between that and a wage from part-time manual labor, I would have enough to survive if I were under some sort of attack like that. I'm not saying I can't be bought, because we're all human, we're all fallible, and that is to equate oneself with the Almighty. But at the same time, I think it would be a lot more difficult to corrupt me than most, because I have built what I like to call the position of fuck you. If my boss wanted to try and extort me into working longer hours, I'd tell him, find some other chum, because I don't need that money that badly. The other issue, right, is I don't have a family right now. I mean, I have, right, my mother, and I have my siblings, but I don't have a wife, I don't have a husband, I don't have sons and daughters, I don't have any dependents. And that does give me a certain amount of freedom. And around here, the dating scene is so abysmal that I'm not going to find one. Now, that may change when I move out to Hawaii, but that's a different story. If you want to know what they call someone who never compromises on their values to try and get a greater good accomplished, those people are called gadflies. I have very little use for them. Ideologues and gadflies. You got to stand up for what you believe in, but life requires compromise. Come on, four more. One more. 7. 8. Come on. 9. One more. Let me ask you something there, Nightmask. What are your positions? If you were to keep a low-key public status to speak too much the truth. The more popular you get, people tend to be bought, especially politically. That's probably some truth to that. It's a very cynical way to do things. But, right, okay, so why are there no engineers in Congress? It's because engineers have a low bullshit tolerance threshold. I'm an engineer. But no, is it hard to maintain one's beliefs in the face of adversity? Absolutely. I mean, to use a biblical allegory here, think about how much the book of Job explains what one has to do to be steadfast in their beliefs, right? The evil one tested Job with more or less the complete and utter destruction of his life, and yet Job remained loyal. And the Almighty paid off for Job at the end. I'm just using an example here. There are more examples than just one from the Bible, but that just seems like a really obvious one. So we're going to move now to our final exercise of the day, the trap bar deadlift. In fact, I actually might try it Romanian style this time. Lower leg bend, a little bit more hip hinge, a little bit more emphasis on the glutes. I don't typically tend to do that. That might be a really nice one for a change. Not on trap bars anyway, but damn it. Come on. There we go. No, it's never easy. No. It's right now. There are some basically what you're getting at is, what vulnerabilities do I have? Now, if someone were to threaten my family, first off, I would go on the warpath. I would get very violent very quickly. Don't threaten my family. But because I've adopted a low-cost lifestyle, I don't need the same level of income to support myself that most Americans do. I live on a fraction of that. I mean, again, by some standards, I live below the federal poverty line. However, I don't really feel impoverished. My life is pretty great, actually, if you ask me. All right, so we've got 3 more sets of trap bars. We're going to start with a little bit lower rep set here. This is 230. I think it'll be fairly easy. And then we'll move to 280 if if I hit 12 to 15 reps on this, which I should. you go. We'll put clips on here in case I bring it up unbalanced. I shouldn't, but in case I do. Always useful. You're very critical as a thinker, as a highly enjoy respect. Well, I appreciate that. I think when the government uses your family against you, it's when you might truly be tested on your integrity, principles, and goals. God forbid such to happen unless you hold information influence can affect so-called national security. Well, I do. I'm a federal nuclear worker. I work in the U.S. nuclear industry. The United States government knows who I am, they trust who I am, and they expect me to get the job done, which is what I do. Hell, my newest job, I'm going to be employed by the U.S. Navy. Right. As far as, I believe in the mission of the United States military. I believe that the United States is, in general, a force for good in the world. So there's no clash in ethics between my job and my beliefs. Right? I support the U.S. military. I was born into a family where my father served for almost 30 years. That's who I am. That's part of what I believe in. I believe that America is not just a force for good. I believe America might be the single greatest country to have ever graced this entire world. I know that's a hot take. People hate it when you start saying America's awesome, especially the goddamn Europeans. I love my European brothers and sisters in here, but y'all love to shit on America. Y'all never like to say anything nice about us. But the second some shit happens in your country, it's, oh, come save the world, Mr. Red, White, and Blue Man. Very, very interesting how the Europeans act on that one. Foreshadowing? I don't think so. Right? So, I mean, in case you didn't know, there, Knight, I guess you're new to the stream, so you can see the title of my stream is 9 Days Until a Big Move, right? I am moving to Pearl Harbor, Hawaii in the coming months. Right, I'm a nuclear engineer. You can put two and two together and figure out what I'm doing out there. That's really the only nuclear job available in the Aloha State. I wouldn't be doing that if I didn't believe in the mission. Chinese are getting real aggressive. They're definitely fucking around. They may need to find out. Again, have you seen that ridiculous, what is it, the 13 or 11 dashed line that basically claims the entire South China Sea is Chinese except for the like 50-mile radius off the coastlines of Vietnam, the Philippines, and Indonesia? Like, that's basically China is trying to, it's almost like China is trying to piss all of its neighbors off down there. I mean, they're basically creating artificial islands out there to try and bolster that claim, which is patently ridiculous. I don't believe the Chinese and the United States need to be enemies, but what the Chinese are doing there is they're going to damage their own international reputation. All right, here we go. All right, we go Romanian style. Oh. So I'm bending less at the knees and more at the hips. Oh, really stretching the hamstrings. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Nice, that was 12. That felt good. We're gonna go up weight. We'll go 280 for the final 2 sets. Pretty much the CVT is dead, my Altima. I warned you on that one, Mikey. It's a Nissan. They're not built very well. The CVTs grenade themselves at 100,000 miles. By the sound of things, 35K for a new one. Yep. By the sound of things, Yep, your CVT is deciding to crap itself. Nissan, so I call Nissan Japanese Chrysler for a reason. In general, Nissan products used to have pretty decent engineering through the 1980s and 1990s. But in recent years, quality control has fallen off dramatically, but Nissan coasts by on the reputation of Toyota and Honda, and to a lesser extent Subaru and Mazda, as reliable Japanese automakers. Nissan says, oh, we're like them, we're a reliable Japanese automaker, when in reality, they build crap. Most Nissans are not well built. Situation like Boeing in your firm, how would you deal with it? Stay silent or expose to corruption, which would sabotage your livelihood and career. Well, the closer I get to financial independence, the more ability I have to blow that kind of whistle. There are also whistleblower protections in the nuclear industry because of how acute the importance of safety is. So it really doesn't, it's not an apples to apples comparison night. It doesn't work that way. Would I blow the whistle if I saw endemic corruption? No comment. Yeah, no comment. I can't. Yeah, I can't say that. Hey, Najee, good to see you. It's a good way to train the mind. Awesome weight. Setback, now I'm back into working out. I was wondering if I should train my mind also to avoid setbacks. So one thing I like to do is psych myself up before my really heavy sets. You guys have seen this. Y'all saw that earlier in the workout. So I'm sitting here, breathing in, breathing out slowly. What I do is I rehearse the set in my mind, like I'm doing squats. Down, deep, up, 1. Down, deep, up, 2. Down, deep, up, 3, etc. I go all the way through, so that way, when you rehearse it, you're visualizing that success in here, and it translates to success in there. You really think the government will have your back on this one? Potentially, actually, I do. Again, I really, we're getting to the realm where I really can't comment. There are more than one interests at play here, and yeah, y'all, I'm sorry. I can't continue the line of conversation here at the moment. Not yet. Not yet. I will. Okay. There are some fundamental and structural design issues with the project I'm working on. And I'm weighing my options as I exit this current job. So I really, yeah, I have to, I'm sorry, I can't comment further on this one. You have to understand that. And if you want to insult me based off of that, go find a different channel. Najee Biak. Najee, thank you very much. It's Najee Biak? Is that Najee B. Jack? Either way, thank you very much for the follow. Welcome to Bullpen. I think there's a little bit more in terms of protections than meets the eye, especially with my project. There are competing interests, but I can't go any further here. To do so would be not wise. This is not the time or place. If you want to sit here and say, see, you're just a liar and a hypocrite like the rest of them. If you want to do that, man, anonymous internet commentator, go somewhere else. You really don't understand what you're talking about if that's what you want to do. I have that is to the point of low effort trolling. So Jack is cool. It's my middle name. Oh, I gotcha. All right. Well, good to have you, Jack. We only got 2 sets left. I've been going so slow today. We're damn near 3 hours into this workout. But it's because we've had really good conversations. So it's sort of a trouble point. I try not to loaf too much, but at the same time, I want to really make this a good presentation. So it's all right. I ain't got nothing else to do tomorrow. So you are moving? Yes. You must not be on the Discord, PO, because I've announced this for several weeks. I'll go through the itinerary again. I mean, I've talked about it on stream after stream, but yeah, I am moving. I've got a new job. It's in Hawaii, so that's going to be coming over the next few weeks. So the schedule for streaming is going to look very different in the future. There's going to be a lot going on. What's the reason for the... Okay, I think you're just deliberately trying to get me to repeat myself. I'm going to do another set. That was not as bad as I thought it was. I think I'm going to go ahead and really hit hard for the last one and go up to 330. That's going to be tough. Go. Yeah, so, okay. For those of you who are new in here, I'll go ahead and explain. I got a new job offer with the United States Navy. I'm not joining the Navy as an officer or an enlisted sailor. Rather, I'm working as a civilian direct employee. It's going to be in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. I'll be starting that job in May. I am exiting my current job at the 1st of April. Through the first 2 weeks of April, I'll be traveling through Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Texas. Through the second half of April, I'll be traveling through New Mexico, Arizona, California, Oregon, Washington. Early May, I'm flying out from Washington on a one-way ticket to Honolulu. I'm going to try and get my life set up out there. So it's going to be a great journey. Strongly, strongly recommend joining the Discord so y'all can see what's going on. And if you live on that route, say so. And I'd love, if you want to meet up with me in real life, that'd be great. Your philosophy do you hold on to when you encounter difficult situations? Stoicism. Do you not realize every person hangs around here 24/7? I do understand that, but you know, I've mentioned it several times alone on this stream, PO. You needn't be rude. Let's see. Okay. Actually, this one's off a little bit. Okay, there's a lump on one of these plates where it comes, doesn't seat itself very well on a flat bar. That's much better. But the answer is stoicism. In general, my solution, or my response to tough times is this too shall pass. I've had a few of those with my family in recent months. And with some friends too. It's gotten to the point where it's felt like I was giving a lot, receiving very little, and that I was getting taken advantage of in some respects. And I found a way to rectify that, and it's going to improve as I exit South Carolina. How do you remain stoic if someone's deliberately trying to provoke your emotions through manipulation tactic? You just ignore it. You see the manipulation for what it is, and you try to keep a level head. Everybody gets annoyed. Everybody gets angry. These are normal human emotions. How you control them is the difference. Not every second this stream nor have audio enabled all the time, despite chatting sporadically. Look, man, you're the one who comes in here and you're negative a lot of the time. You want to interact with this community, that's all fine and good. But man, a lot of the time I feel like I'm a broken record in here. It does get a little bit old. I apologize for getting a bit snippy, that's fair, but you can drop the sarcastic attitude anytime you like, man. I feel like I try to be pretty honest, pretty direct, pretty optimistic most of the time when I answer questions, but you'll have to forgive me if my patience sometimes wears thin when I get asked the same thing over and over again. You know, every human has a limit to their patience. So we're gonna hit one last set here. This is 3:30, and that's gonna be it for the workout. You seem easily rattled. You seem like you're trolling. If you think I'm easily rattled, you really don't know a whole lot about me. That's okay. I'd like to know, YouTube, Knight and PO, y'all have been in here pretty active today. Where y'all hail from? What country? Okay, that's it. Oh, my legs are shot. That was good. That was good. That was real good. From Singapore. Interesting. There's a lot of my family drama, unfortunately, has come from that particular country. I won't judge all Singaporeans because of that, but oh man. That would be, to explain further would be disclosing personal information that I shouldn't. But there's, there have been some interesting family developments that have been related to that country. Hey, thank you very much for the raid. Let's see, Sakura Dango 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. Hey, raiding with a party of 1 is still very nice. Surrender Mars, if you want more explicit content, you really ought to join the Discord. I turn things a bit looser, right? Not all the way, but I turn things a bit looser on the Discord. How you doing? That was our last set. I'm going to D-rack. We'll have a Q&A, and then that'll be it for today. You're from Oz, huh? That's pretty cool. It's awfully late there. We were talking to, who was it? It was Strongman. He was also from Oz. He was saying it was getting real late over there. Hey, Will, good to see you. It has nothing to do with the state. It actually is a specific person there. Again, I really shouldn't say much further. But thankfully, that issue is going to resolve itself in the coming weeks. So I'm very relieved about that. I will be very honest. That has been a stressor in my life the last few weeks. It's not been fun handling that, because I care about my family a lot. And when there's internal family turmoil, historically my role has sort of been the middle child peacemaker. So when there is that sort of turmoil, I feel as though it's my turn to act. But unfortunately in this situation I've done all I can. So I really try to keep to that. You talked about stoic mindset. I try my best, but when it's family it's hard. Go ahead and turn the fan off. It is hot and humid in here today. Whew. Good workout, so my legs are shot, which is great. So let's talk a little bit about the schedule. Tomorrow, normally I would do a rest day or a boxing stream, but instead, I'm going to do a push stream. We're going to do shoulders, chest, and triceps. Then on Monday, normally I don't stream on Mondays, but I'm going to have the opportunity to do another gaming stream, another rest day stream like I did on Thursday. It'll probably be in the afternoon. It should be a lot of fun. God, I can barely walk right now. This is hard. Even just de-racking at this point. Painful. There we go. Okay. All right. Whew. That was really hard. Just cut ties with your family. No point in regulating dynamics as a third party. That's just not how I was raised. So let me give a little explainer on this one. Being born in a military family means that every 2 years or so, you uproot your life and you move somewhere entirely different. And thanks to modern technology, staying in touch with friends has never been easier, but it wasn't like that when I was growing up in the 2000s and even into the early 2010s. It was possible, but it wasn't easy. I didn't have my first cell phone, like legit actual cell phone, until I was 16, 17. So, keeping in touch with older friends was just hard. So, you were there for 2 years, you up and moved on. Well, what does that mean, right? It means the deep personal relationships you have to bond with your family. If you don't, you'll find that you're very alone. So I don't have that ability. There are times where I would love nothing more than to cut ties with some of my family in a brief emotional response, because sometimes they piss me off. But that's normal in every family. To me, that's just a very base instinct. And to do that is cutting off your nose to spite your face. It's not smart. So yeah, does my family piss me off sometimes? Totally. But I probably piss them off too, right? It's important to look at their perspectives and see how you might be doing the same thing. So I try to check myself. I'm not perfect. It's going to happen. How'd you handle family members who are not sober, find themselves in a difficult situation? That one cuts a bit close to home. Well, it's funny you mentioned that night because I actually gave up alcohol for the year 2024. I wouldn't say I had a drinking problem, but it was stopping me from achieving, especially in the gym, really what I wanted to. And as such, I've given it up. And it's been an interesting journey. For the most part, I don't miss it, but there are times, in particular, like if I'm watching a football game with the guys, God, nothing sounds better than a cold beer. Or if I'm having a really nice meal, a glass of wine would be beautiful to have with it, sometimes I occasionally like to cook up something nice. If I make like a big, nice Italian meal, having a nice glass of Chianti would be just perfect, but I'm not doing it this year. I've made a decision that I'm not doing it. As far as, more deeper issues with addiction, I've got to say this in such a way as to keep privacy. The best I can do, okay, I think this is the best way I can explain it. This is hard. With fava beans, yeah. That's a great, I love Silence of the Lambs. Not a horror movie fan, but that is a great film. Anthony Hopkins crushed that role. as far as how to handle it, right, I think the key is honesty, but compassion. Um, Appeal to someone's better instincts. Tell them, hey, I believe in you. I believe that you are meant for something better than the path you've currently chosen. I think you can do it. I know you can do it. The question is whether or not you will make the correct decisions to form actions. Make the correct actions to form your habits. Make those habits, remake those habits, and rewire your mind. And there's a point where you have to say that you've led the horse to water and you can't make it drink. It's a balance. I know there we go. Favorite. It's speaking of lack of sobriety. If you turned "It's a Balance" into a drinking game, I'd probably have gotten quite a few very sick at this point. But how can you be honest if they take it the wrong way and they're not on the same page? If they take it the wrong way and lash out emotionally, you have to remain level-headed and try not to fight fire with fire. And that's very difficult. In the same way that we were saying, you know, when people are trying to manipulate or goad you into getting frustrated, it's hard. It's hard. Some people try to even gaslight you. It's not easy. But you have to maintain your ground. You have to remain very calm. And if you need to step away from a situation to handle your own emotions, it's better to do that than to lash out and regret it later. Why do you even feel obligated? Because blood's thicker than water. My family's there for me. I have to be there for my family. That's just how I was raised, how I was taught. You know, I already lost one family member in 2020. Lost my dad to cancer. And it was very, very painful for all of us, for my brothers and my mother. But we were there for each other, and that's how we got through it. So, you know, this world can be a very intimidating and lonely place if you don't have those deep connections. Because of how I was raised, I'm always going to be like that with my family. It's just non-negotiable. It's part of my inner morality and values. I'm just not going to change that. I will remain loyal to a fault. Now, I'm not going to set myself on fire to keep my family warm, and there are times I've come close to that, but I will do what I can in my power to help. So that's why I feel obligated. It's also part of my religion, right? You honor your father and mother, but you're supposed to be there for your entire family as well. I am a Roman Catholic. That is what I practice, and I think it is to care for and love deeply your family is the Christ-like thing to do. How long is his fight with cancer? He actually had a winning record against cancer. Had it twice. They were related to his service. Beat it twice. And the third time, it was, they had originally given him about 2-3 months to live. He lived for 18 months. It was a very rare form of cancer that really only affected chain smokers and war veterans. And my dad did not smoke. Do you feel as if you have taken your dad's role for your mother and siblings? No, that's an impossible role to fill. I'm not the man my father was. I would love to be that man, and I'm trying my best, but that takes a level of internal fortitude that I'm still working on trying to develop. My father was a hero. He served honorably and did his duty for this country. He raised myself and my 2 siblings right. The reason I am extremely successful is because I was raised by good parents. And my dad always said that. He said, you know, as great as all the honors and accolades from my military career have been, it means nothing compared to how I raised you 3 boys. And that always stuck with me. My dad placed a lot of value on raising us right and being a good father. And there were times he would be on deployment or TDY, and we would worry. And there were times that, you know, after he retired, we learned some of the stuff he was doing, and he was in some pretty risky situations. I think the Almighty looked out for him. I mean, here's a great example. My dad was actually stationed in the Pentagon from, I believe it was the fall of 1998 to summer of 2001, and he was in the wing of the Pentagon that got destroyed on September 11th. And we were restationed in June of 2001. So, I mean, I could have never existed because my dad could have succumbed to cancer the first 2 times before I was even born. I could have lost my father at age 6. I could have lost him had something gone wrong, you know, in my other early childhood years when he was working some pretty high-risk missions for the United States Air Force. I could have lost him, you know, insert a time period here. The fact that I got 25 years with the best father I could have ever asked for is why I really don't feel bitter about it. I actually went up to, earlier this month, I went up to Arlington National Cemetery, where my dad is buried. And it was the first time I got to go up there alone. And the previous times I stayed strong, I stayed stoic and stone-faced and let my mother cry on my shoulder because it was her time to grieve. I finally got to go there alone about a month ago, and that is when I finally got to grieve. And it gave me closure that I've been waiting for almost 4 years on. But that's what when I'm talking about do things for your family, that's the kind of commitment I'm talking about. I'm not trying to toot my own horn here. I'm trying to give you a visceral example. This is me opening up to the world, right? If you want to see who I am as a human being, this is it. This is the human condition. We are there, we are only here but for the grace of God. And, you know, Lord does work in mysterious ways, but I think the most important thing, the most important way to secure your own happiness in this world is gratitude. I really strongly believe that. I think to be grateful for the circumstances one finds oneself in, no matter if they be good or bad, is where happiness and joy comes from. I recognize that I am very, very blessed. Again, raised with 2 good parents, one of them still alive, one of them still in good health. You know, I have worked really hard, but I was taught right. You know, I was given, like a lot of people aren't given the upbringing that I had, and I am aware of that. But I have to believe at some level there has been divine intervention for the positive in my life. I don't believe I deserve everything I have gained. I'm very grateful for what I've gained. And I do believe I've deserved part of it because I've worked very hard. For instance, right, all this muscle mass on me, that's a product of my own hard work. It is to a lesser extent the product of my genetics, but I've been lifting weights for almost 15 years now. This doesn't happen by accident. Actually, I have been lifting weights for almost 15. It's almost 16 years now. So, you get where I'm going with that? How's your mother coping on raising you and your siblings without a husband and father? So when my father passed away, I was 25. My younger brother was 22. 21, excuse me, 21, and my older brother was 27. So we were we were already adults when my father passed away. That's not to say that parenting ends at the age of 18. It doesn't. You're a parent forever. But, you know, we already flew the nest by that point. So with coping with the loss is always tough, but I think the best way is to practice gratitude. I look back at all the fond memories I have and all the lessons and words of wisdom I got taught, and I say, how on earth could I ever feel entitled to more? And the nice thing is that because I am a Roman Catholic and I believe that because we believe in Jesus Christ, the Son of God, we will be promised eternal life after death. Death has no sting for me. In other words, I'm sure whenever God calls me up, after many years in purgatory, likely because I'm certainly quite sinful. After I've paid off all that sort of debt and made my body and I've purified my spirit, you know, I will rejoin my dad in heaven at some point. I'm sure he's probably in purgatory now too. I don't know, I'm not the Almighty, but that's what I believe as a Catholic, so that also helps. So my answers are faith and gratitude for coping with loss. Faith and gratitude are very useful. Loss of a husband is like the loss of your father, which never really goes away. That's true. That's true. And that's why, you know, I really try to stay close with my family, because that closeness doesn't remove the pain, but it helps my mother and my brothers and myself cope with it. Yeah. Purgatory, why? Well, because I'm not perfect, I've committed sin, and anyone who's committed sin is... Going to Catholic teaching on this one. It's too long to explain for a Twitch stream. I'll put it that way. In all reality, while I do believe that I am saved because I believe in Christ, the Son of God, I am human just like anyone else. I am full of sin, and that will have to be removed. But I think my mother's coping pretty well. She has started really great charity for feeding the hungry, and the homeless, which is a population that has exploded in her part of the Pacific Northwest. And actually, the program she's doing is mirrored off of a program her mother, my grandmother, did through the 1970s and 1980s in Pennsylvania. So it's almost a sort of a quasi-family tradition, and I've tried to spur on those efforts where and how I could. That's a good example. Don't most Catholics strive to achieve entrance to heaven? Yes, of course we do. But at the same time, we try to live like Christ. That's the goal of being Catholic. But we fuck up. We are imperfect. Heck, we're imperfect beings living in an imperfect church. We're human. It's part of the human condition to fuck up. It's part of the human condition to sin. Because that's what happened after, our fall from grace. It's not to say that we are doomed. That's why Christ exists, right? Christ saves us from eternal death and sin. But we still fuck up. Pretty sure you can atone your sins by confessing, and I do. But at the same time, right? Do you really believe in God, or do you understand it's a concept which guides most principles? I do believe in God. I don't know precisely, I don't know what God looks like. I don't know I don't know exactly how God manifests himself, so to speak. But given the vastness of this universe, the possibility of other universes or a multiverse, and the seemingly infinite size of the world of the plane of existence we find ourselves in, it seems foolish to me that there is not some entity so much more powerful, strong, intelligent, omnipotent than us, that we would not conclude that's God. You can ask a lot of famous philosophers about this. Most philosophers, or a lot of philosophers that started out as atheists, end up coming to the idea that, at bare minimum, I don't believe in it. I don't think atheism makes a lot of sense. I don't think you can disprove God. I would think if that was the case, you'd be an agnostic. I can understand agnosticism. From a purely logical perspective, agnosticism is the conclusion. I believe in faith, though. Because of that, I believe in God. So it's not a perfect explanation, and you'll have to forgive me. The blood isn't flowing up here, right? My legs are absolutely shot after that workout, so I'm trying to explain it in as good a way as I can, but, you get the idea. How can God exist in Catholicism if people mock it so easy without consequences? Because God is infinitely forgiving. And I don't think God is someone who plays a completely direct manager-style role in this universe. I believe God is the why. God works in mysterious ways. Students of dinosaurs and all other companies still within the realm of Catholic teachings? Yes. The Bible, especially the Old Testament, is metaphorical. The earth is not 6,000 years old. Young earth creationism and biblical literalism is not something I believe in. I'm agnostic, but I'm pretty anti-religious, and that's understandable too. Religion, including the Catholic one, has done a lot of damage to humanity. I won't hide from that, and that's why I say it's an imperfect church. However, my faith is an integral part of what makes me who I am, and it's an integral part of why I am able to roll with the punches so well. It's, yes, Stoicism as a philosophy and utilitarianism as a philosophy are a big part of why as well, but my belief in salvation eternally does provide me with a lot of comfort, and it does provide me with the faith to continue and carry on in times of trouble. And if you don't believe in God, that's okay. I'm never going to judge someone who has different beliefs and a different faith than I do, because faith is personal. Faith is your connection with things that aren't empirically proven. So if you have a faith of something, I cannot understand your perspective. So it's like that. I feel like religion has always been manipulated in the realm of politics to drive a certain agenda. It absolutely has been, including in the Catholic Church. I mean, take Dante's Inferno, for instance. Dante's Inferno was in many ways a criticism of some of the most corrupt popes in the history of the Catholic Church. And this is one other issue I do have with the church. By the way, because I'm a practicing Catholic doesn't mean I believe in every single aspect of Catholic dogma. There are things I disagree with, and papal infallibility is one of them. The Pope is a human being. The Pope is a very holy human being, I will say, but the Pope is fallible, absolutely. And if that is enough to call me a heretic, then I'm a heretic. But the existence of what happened in the Middle Ages with the Catholic Church, I mean, right, I'm not a Lutheran, but there was a lot of value in what Martin Luther said. The Catholic Church by the 1500s was incredibly corrupt. There is still corruption in the Catholic Church that must be rooted out. But just because it isn't where it should be, doesn't mean it doesn't provide a lot of value and a lot of positivity into my life. In the same way that I'm not perfect, my religion isn't perfect. To me, I don't see a contradiction here. And that's okay. If you say that and you say, oh, this guy's full of it, that's okay too. You can believe that. This girl wants if she believes in God. She said, I believe in the universe. Yeah, I don't know what that means either. That's not really an answer. If you believe God is the universe, I suppose, well, okay. So the idea that we're all one and God is, what we would call God is also sort of the universe, that God is everything. I think a lot of Eastern religions have a similar philosophy to that. I do not subscribe to that line of thinking. But I think that's what that means, P.O. I don't know for sure, but if you say I believe in the universe, to me that means you probably tend to vibe more with the Eastern religions. That's my best interpretation of that. Seneca once said, religion is regarded by the common people as true, by the wise as false, and by the rulers as useful. What is your opinion on this quote? I think part of it is true, part of it isn't. Great wisdom can come from faith. Great stupidity can also come from faith. This is another one where, right, a lot of the great religious leaders, the Buddha, Prophet Muhammad, Jesus Christ, right, a lot of great religious figures in multiple different religions were very cerebral, metaphorical people. The problem is that many of the followers took the message literally and didn't understand the underlying point. This is, I think, one of the problems with religious dogma, and in particular, so I have faith. I am a Catholic, but I am against religious extremism. Religious extremism produces more problems than it solves. In particular, in the past, there was a lot of Christian extremism. There still is some, but the most problematic extremism today that exists in the world is Islamic, and it's not even close. Let's be realistic. Take for instance, what happened in Russia last night. That's a direct product of Islamic extremism. That's terrorism. That's what happened there. Sounds like some hippie bullshit, live, love, laugh. I try to assume the best in people, but you might have a point. Don't forget Hinduism. I grew up Catholic, but I lost my faith in my youth. I did too. I regained it, which is unusual. A lot of people don't regain their faith, but I did. And my faith journey is personal to me, and it wouldn't really make sense to most other people. I'm going to save exactly how I went through that for the AMA we're going to have on the Discord channel next Friday. That's a little too personal. I'd rather save that for a tighter-knit community in the Discord. So I'm gonna decline to elaborate on that one for now. Anywho, I think we're just about done here. Really, I don't have a ton else to do today, but we've been streaming for over 3 hours, and I do have some chores to do, some packing up to do. So I think we're gonna look to raid someone. So let's see here. See who we're gonna raid. We've got Celtsy, Bam Bam, Benjamin Highlife. No, stop. Twitch, damn it, no, I don't want to. There we go. I don't want to see someone's story. I want to see who's live so I can choose who to raid. Fuck's sake. I haven't raided Celtsy in a hot minute. What's your body weight now? 225.8 pounds as of this morning. So I started my cut at 232. So I'm down 6.5 to 7 pounds in about 3 to 4 weeks, which is between 1 and 2 pounds a week, which is a nice, slow, steady amount of weight loss with minimal muscle loss. I've noticed I'm slightly weaker on a couple of exercises compared to where I was at peak bulk, but the losses in muscle are very minimal at this point. So pretty happy with that so far. The raid message is Bull Rush, yes. I think we're gonna go ahead and raid Celtsy here. If y'all want more content, come check out the Discord. Lots and lots of stuff going on there. I'm also gonna be doing an AMA on the Discord where you can ask me a few more explicit questions next Friday. So take a look at that. I'm gonna go ahead and we're going to look to raid good old Mr. Celtsy. He does a lot of really high intensity stuff. I'm always amazed by his cardio capacity. It's freaking insane if you ask me. But we are going to raid good old Celtsy. Should be a good time. Thank you all very much for coming out, all the new followers. Appreciate it a lot. I will be live same time, same place tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here in my great state of South Carolina for the time being. That's going to be it for me today, y'all. So as always, make good decisions. Those decisions form your actions. Those actions form your habits. Those habits form your values. Those values form an ethos to be the guide started through the rough waters of life. Come in for the hug. Whew. I'm tired. That was a hard workout. A lot of conversation. I'm struggling with this, YouTube. It's like almost a 3-hour stream and a 3-hour workout nonetheless. But I don't want to ignore conversations. Well, it's tough. You get what I'm going for. All right, cheers, YouTube. I'm out. I'm tired. I'm going to go get food, lay down. Cheers. Good night. Or good afternoon. Peace. See you tomorrow.